Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Hardy Realty Show. We are broadcasting from the Hardy Realty Studios on Broad Street in downtown Rome, Georgia. We work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune. I am Roger Manus with Rome Business Radio. And our Hardy Realty representative on this month's show is Jimmy Kelly. Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
Splendid.
You're always splendid.
I am always splendid.
You're just walking chipper.
He played baseball.
Yeah. You're just always chipper, though. So welcome. Would you mind introducing our guest?
Our guest today is Kevin Dillmon. Kevin's the epitome of development of restaurants and such in Rome, Georgia.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You got that?
That's a very nice compliment.
I was going to say you had this little smirk on your face as he was introducing you. Were you scared of what he was going to say?
I was a little nervous, yes.
So what is your guys' relationship? Obviously, there's some chemistry here. Y'all must have known each other forever.
Yes, starting with, I guess, my oldest daughter.
Yeah, I met Jimmy back when we first moved here. Actually, he was my landlord, and so we've developed a pretty good relationship ever since. Our kids have gone to school together. My oldest and his youngest are very good friends, and so we've just known each other for a long time.
What kind of a landlord was he? Did he get stuff fixed when you needed it?
He was a good one.
What kind of tenant was he? Did he pay his rent on time?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, so what year was this that you moved here? Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. We moved here from Birmingham, Alabama, about 18 years ago, and so that's kind of where we started.
Okay, before we get into all the restaurants, what brought you to Rome?
My wife took a job in Rome with Harbin Clinic, and so she's a medical oncologist, and
So you married well.
I married up for sure.
In Southern sports terms, we would say you outkicked your coverage.
Way outkicked it.
Okay, so you show up in Rome 18 years ago, and what are you doing? And how does honeymoon happen? And Aventine and Blossom Hill, how does all this happen?
By luck, honestly. I've been very fortunate. We moved here 18 years ago. At the time, I was working in restaurants in Birmingham. And we have young girls at the time. And so I was not quite ready to jump into the restaurant business just because my wife has a demanding job. And so I was a stay-at-home dad for about 6 months. And I loved it, but I hated it because I was used to working, 50, 60 hours a week and being involved. And so I just wanted to do something. And at the time, like I said, I wasn't ready to get into the restaurants, and I decided to open up a store, and that was my first jump into entrepreneurship or owning my own business. And so I obviously looked for a location. At the time, there was a building that was under construction that I really liked a lot. And before moving here, I just really had my eye on it. And it turned out that they were opening a hotel there, and they had shops for lease. And so I decided to open up a kitchenware store called Riverside Gourmet. And that was kind of like a small Williams-Sonoma. If you were into cooking, we had all the gadgets for that. And that was something that I was still interested in. I love food, and I love everything that goes into creating a great dish. And so I decided to open a store, and that was where I wanted to do it because I just absolutely love that building. And so that was how I met Jimmy. And so it turned out he was...
And now you can't get rid of it.
That's right. And so that's kind of where it goes back to is my relationship with Jimmy is that he helped me get into that space, and so that was where my first business started. Was
one of the things we like talking about here, because this is business radio, is the entrepreneurial gene. Some people have it and some people don't. Was it just something always in the back of your brain?
I think so. I think, for me, it was better for me to do that than work for somebody else because I needed flexibility in my life.
And some people don't like taking orders.
Well, yeah, I also have an idea and I want to do it in my way, and I have goals, and so it's hard to if you work for someone else to accomplish those because they have their own goals, and so sometimes they don't always meet up. Obviously. Okay,
so you had the store, and then I guess was the first thing in Honeymoon Bakery.
Riverside was the first, and then
the first into food.
Correct, and then 2 years later was Honeymoon Bakery, and that came off of I felt like there was a need for a bakery in Rome. My background was more in baking and pastry, and so that was kind of an easy transition for me to open the bakery. And so we opened that. This is 15 years ago. This is our 16th year.
It's become an institution.
I feel like it has. We've been very lucky. Rome has just opened their arms, and they've really, really bought into what we want to do, what we want to accomplish, and I feel like we've become kind of a staple of Rome, which is pretty cool.
Well, before you arrived, Jimmy and I were chatting, and he was raving about your cakes. And but would you say it made you diabetic?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I just said they were very sweet, and of course we get dozens of cheese straws from there.
I think that's best Jimmy's favorite is the cheese straws.
Cheese straws, best in Rome, no doubt.
Yeah. What are some of the other delights that people consume there? What's your top selling stuff?
I think what we're known for is our cakes and our cupcakes. So we also do lots of different pastries. Creamhorn is probably one of our most popular pastries that we do. And then the eclairs and cannolis, chocolate mousse, and then all the different bars and brownies.
Yeah, leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happens, but your mind keeps going. Yeah. The entrepreneurial. So what's next?
Next was Aventine.
Okay.
And so that was something that I also felt like there was a need for that. It really came off of just a passion for great food, and so with that, there were I needed to create a staff, and so Jimmy, through for our friendship, and we kind of actually honestly put me on to who is now our pastry chef now, our executive pastry chef.
Oh, so you didn't just help with the property and stuff like that. You were involved in helping getting people and.
Well, the pastry chef.
Yeah.
She was my daughter's best friend. I helped raise her. And they were working
at Sea Island.
At Sea Island.
Yeah. And so through that we connected, and so we. We're fortunate enough to persuade Megan to come back to Rome, and so
she brought
her boyfriend Adam O'Hara, who's our executive chef, and so we kind of collaborated, and that's when we opened Aventine.
And the style of the food it's Italian but Southern. What's the vibe?
Southern American with Italian influences.
Yeah. So what's restaurants have vibes? What was the vibe you were trying to?
So really, the vibe kind of played off of things that I'm passionate about, and I wanted people to feel like they were a guest in our home in a sense. And there's lots of little details that are sentimental to myself. There's pictures that from Bald Head Island that is a place that I love to go to, and those are kind of the main pictures in the restaurant. And there's just little touches throughout the restaurant that are sentimental to us.
Okay, and Honeymoon Bakery's on Broad.
It is.
And Aventine is across the river.
Correct.
In the River District.
Correct.
So talk to me about, let's kind of segue into the real estate thing here, the importance of location and how you picked where you picked.
So I drove past the Aventine building for probably 2 years and just watched that area on West 3rd. And I knew at some point there would be development, just because it's close to the river. It's right off Broad Street, but nobody was going over in that area. And so I looked at it and I was like, this will be a great restaurant. It was an old building. The building was built in 1950. And so I just fell in love with the building, and I, obviously purchased that building and said, that's where I want to do the restaurant. And honestly, people thought I was crazy and stupid for going over there, because they said it's not on Broad Street. You have to be on Broad Street if you want to make it. And so, I just felt like I just felt like that's where Broad Street was going.
You kind of did a Field of Dreams. If I build it, they will come.
Yes. I knew that if I put out a great product, people will come.
And were you involved in any of this real estate, or just
not that building?
Okay.
When he had that next vision, actually a classmate of mine from Darlington passed away, and he owned the 3 buildings adjoining Aventine. And
so that opened up some doors.
I got Kevin to buy them.
So we purchased that building, and then we had, it was obviously COVID hit 3-4 months after we opened the restaurant. And so after that, we had time, and the buildings behind us came available. And so that's when Jimmy and I got together, and we worked on that deal. It was one parcel with 3 buildings in it. And we had the idea for Blossom Hill kind of after. It came after we purchased the buildings. I knew that I would do something with the buildings. I wasn't exactly sure what I would do. And so we purchased the buildings. And then from that, the idea of what we have now, Blossom Hill, came out of what we felt like was a need from COVID of just a very large green space. And so we have Blossom Hill directly behind it. We own that building as well, which we operate our bake shop, which is where we do all the baking and pastry for Honeymoon Bakery.
Okay, so one of the things you have said about each of these little steps along the way, I saw a need. The bakery, you saw a need. The Aventine, you kind of saw a need for. Is that the key to entrepreneurship, seeing a need and filling the void?
I feel like in order to be successful, if there's not a need for it, people aren't going to come.
And what made you know there was a need?
Well, I mean, I felt like the Rome was growing, and the people were kind of changing. The expectations were changing, and so I like to go out. I like great food. We have a few of those, but we didn't have many. And we didn't have, for Blossom Hill, there was no place that has the large patio and green space that we have. And then at that time, and people were wanting more space through COVID. And so, I felt like that people were going to want to sit outside.
And Blossom Hill is barbecue.
Correct.
So what made you think barbecue with all, there's all kinds of genres and choices and that you could do?
It's something that I love.
So it either goes back to you see a need or you like it yourself.
Correct. Yeah. I have a little bit of history in barbecue. And so that was something that I was kind of passionate about, something that I wanted to bring to Rome. We had some good restaurants, but it was just something I wanted to put my spin on.
Historically, you hear through time, like restaurants, bars, what have you. It's a tough business. It's hard to sustain, maintain. So, what possessed you to get into those businesses, and how have you been so successful in maintaining and operating them?
It's something that I've always done. I've kind of grew up working in restaurants, so that was kind of I knew that this is where I'd be. I love the service industry. And then, honestly, I've surrounded myself with just an amazing team, and without them, I would not be able to do what we do today. So, it all goes back to, the team that we've created.
Well, now you just sound like a quarterback doing a post-game interview.
Yeah. Honestly, the quarterback's only as good as the people around him. So, obviously he can't throw the ball if people aren't blocking for him. So,
wow, you ran with the metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got more space over here. So what's next?
So in November we opened Grace, which is an event space that we will offer parties of up to 40 people, and then we're also doing cooking demonstrations, cooking classes, wine tastings, different types of tasting events.
So you saw a need?
Correct. Then the need from that came off of Aventine. Aventine, we get lots of requests for large groups, and we don't necessarily want to close the restaurant for that. So we decided to open Grace, which will, you can have the same quality food from Aventine at Grace.
All right. So one of the things that's interesting to me, kind of getting off topic here, how do you choose the names for these?
Well, Aventine came off of one of the 7 Hills of Rome.
Right. That's the easy one. Yeah.
And also Blossom Hill.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, of course.
And so that's kind of where those two names come. And then Grace was a spinoff of just being graceful, kind of all the, saying grace. And that was kind of something that was something that we just, we had thought about that name for other things that we were doing. And then Honeymoon Bakery is obviously a play off of wedding cakes and that kind of thing.
So do you spend a lot of time mulling over these, or is it that critical, or you just, oh, that sounds good?
Well, I think sometimes I do, and I don't think I'm great at it. So that's not one of the things that I enjoy doing, honestly, is picking the name for that. I know what I want to do. I know how it needs to look, but the name of it is kind of sometimes hard.
It's interesting. I've often thought of this when people name things, be it restaurants, but like TV shows, for example, when they were sitting around coming up with the name for the news magazine 60 Minutes, and they named it 60 Minutes, you can't tell what the show is about from the title. Now, we all know, because it's been on the air 50 years, that it's a news magazine. I guess it's the same thing with a restaurant. The name is important so people can know who you are, but really what's important is the experience, the Correct. Food, the service. And you pride yourself on that?
We do, and that's something that we really we strive on. It's something that we focus on. We constantly are focusing on service and how do we make our team better? How do we offer the best quality product? That's one of the things that's part of, I think, identifies us as the level of staff and the service that we do have.
And they excel at it.
Yeah, you had a celebratory dinner there last night, didn't you?
I did, and again, the service, the food, you just couldn't beat it, and the atmosphere. I didn't know a lot of the people in there, which is usually rare for me in Rome.
Right.
And that place, it was packed. It was at Aventine, and it was full, and everybody seemed to be having a great time.
What were you celebrating?
37 years of marital bliss. That's for my wife, just in case she sees this.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's impressive. Okay, so you got the restaurants, but you're also a business person. How do you market them? Is it word of mouth because of the quality of food, or do you do social media, or you do advertising? What do you do?
We do social media, and then word of mouth is by far probably the best advertisement we can get. So really it's if we do a great job, people talk about it.
How satisfied are you when you pick the Aventine location that you kind of had a vision? People will come over there. There's other development planned. Just that little area of town, you kind of become this anchor in Blossom Hill. And how satisfied are you to see what's kind of going on over there?
I could not be happier, especially with the new project with the apartment homes. I think it's going to be amazing. I think the whole area is just going to change.
Yeah, and that'll be a lot of foot traffic that may want some barbecue one night.
That's right. I think our to-go business will take off.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. So you offer to-go? We
do. We offer to-go at both restaurants, Aventine and Blossom Hill.
How did you navigate COVID when restaurants were just in jeopardy all over the place? How did y'all work your way through that?
Yeah, COVID was tough. We honestly, we closed for a week, And then we reopened with to-go business, and it was a real small staff. It was myself, Tanya, our director of operations, Jamie, our chef, and he's still our chef today, Adam and Megan. And so it was just the five of us, and we went through everything. We did all the to-go business. We, they cooked the food. We got it out the door, and then all the tips that we raised went to our staff. So we collected all the tips, and then we dispersed it to the staff that we had that were with us prior to COVID. So,
wow, everybody had to adjust and adapt, man.
That's right.
Jimmy, when we talk about the area where Aventine is, you're in commercial real estate. How pleased are you to see that part of Rome kind of find a life and have a foothold like this to get people over there?
I love it.
Yeah,
it is, and it looks so good. It changed the complexion of everything.
Yeah,
and what he has done to those buildings, I mean, they were just old brick buildings, and they glow now.
Yeah, the roof was falling in at Aventine.
When you bought it?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So you said you dined there last night. He wants people to feel like they're at his home. Do you feel like you're at his home when you were there last night?
He showed up at my table. I was at home. I also knew a couple of them that were there.
And was that just to tell you your credit card had been rejected?
That was the second credit card.
I'm teasing.
But, yeah, I mean, the staff, they're so nice. I mean, I got a hug when I came in the door.
Well, so, you get that everywhere.
I try.
Because you spread cheer. But it is nice. But to your point, for the dining experience for people who haven't been there before, it's warm and cozy and friendly.
And delicious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, and they changed the menu up at both places.
Aventine, we changed the menu up every couple of weeks. There's things that come on and off the menu.
What's the signature dish or dishes that maybe hang around, or you change it constantly?
The one that we can't get rid of is the sweet potato souffle. That's probably, I think, what Aventine is becoming known for. Our Brussels sprouts are also very famous. So.
You don't get a good Brussels sprout everywhere.
Yeah.
So from a business perspective now, you've got these various, do you operate them separately, or is there any synergy between the various, the bakery and the restaurants? And
there's a lot of overlap. We've created Collective Hospitality. Collective Hospitality is kind of the umbrella for everybody, and they kind of steer the ship. And so we have our exec team, and so really our exec team hits all the different restaurants and different locations, and they kind of make sure everything, all the day-to-day things are going fine.
Yeah, because I would imagine, I'm not in the business, don't understand the business, but they're going to need soft drinks and silverware and all that stuff. Is there some synergy you can do with?
There is, like, we when we opened Blossom Hill, we wanted a to-go cup, and so we connected with Ball, and so Ball does a aluminum cup for us. It's a souvenir cup, and so we use that with Honeymoon. Honeymoon also has the same cup, and we have our branding on all three cups.
Yeah, I have your souvenir cup from Blossom Hill because I have sat in the green space. Yeah. It's awesome over there. So what's next?
I'm not sure. I've got a lot of ideas. I think this year we're going to really regroup, focus on our staff, and focus on kind of growing our staff within, and hopefully do something next year.
Hopefully do something next year. You're being very cryptic. Well, so what is there a need in Rome you have seen that is not currently being filled? Another one?
I do. I have lots of ideas, and my mind spins constantly, and so there's lots of little things that I would like to do. I think there's a lot of growth that we can do. I think the food scene in Rome is going to change a lot over the next couple of years. So I think I think it could be fun.
What Are there any trends you're noticing in Rome, even on your side, Jimmy, with growth or real estate or things like that? That you talked about food changing over the next few years. Is it because the city's growing, or are we coming out of COVID and everybody's getting back out and enjoying life again? Or
I truly believe that Rome is growing.
Yeah,
it's expanding. However many years ago it was, I remember when Broad Street was dead. It is no longer dead. I've never seen so many people walking up and down the streets, and you'll see our lit windows here at our Hardy office on Broad. I mean, we're advertising. If you sit outside, you'll watch people stop every day to look at these pictures.
Yeah.
And that tells me Rome and this whole area, including the River District, is booming.
Yeah, that's what's been fascinating to me is watching the River District kind of grow, and it's to your benefit, and probably because you led the way.
Well, I think I helped. I think that we kind of are getting more people over in that area. It has created, some parking issues that I don't think that area had before, but which is good for growth.
Yeah, because people will go find good food.
They will,
and if you're providing that, so we're going to be cryptic on future plans, but just kind of any final thoughts here about how people can, your websites or social media. How can people connect with you, or do you just show up and
just show up,
show up and eat?
Yeah, honestly, we have. All the different websites and for all the different locations. So, Honeymoon Bakery is probably, the one that people know the most just because we've been here the longest. But, we are getting, new people every day at both the other restaurants that have never visited us before, which is great, because, we see that we're still growing, which is nice. And honestly, we get people at Honeymoon that they come in and they say, "Oh, we didn't know you're here." So, which is awesome, so we're still getting new people.
You'd mentioned the to-go stuff. Do you cater?
We do. We do offer catering with Blossom Hill. We offer different types of drop-off catering, offices, different lunch packages. So, yes.
Well, and now with your event space, people could just have their event there and get food. It's all synergy.
That's correct. Yeah. So you can get a menu from Blossom Hill and have it at Grace if you want to have a private event up there. It seats 40 people. So.
Okay. Jimmy, any final thoughts?
No, but if you go to Blossom Hill, the Sweet Pig is the best barbecue sandwich ever. But if you want something hot, you get the Angry Pig with Adam's Widowmaker sauce, and it will make you perspire quickly. It is great, but they're delicious.
If somebody wants to buy a piece of commercial property or sell it, how can they get a hold of you?
Hardy Realty.
Yeah, just go to the Hardy Realty website and find you listed there. All right, any final thoughts there, Kevin? Just thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Does he owe you?
Yes.
Big time.
Well, are you a big podcaster?
This is, I think, my second. So.
Well, you did fine. This was great. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. And again, the rest of it's Honeymoon Bakery, Aventine, Blossom Hill, and the Grace Event Space. Anything else you got going?
We also operate the Flower Box, which the Flower Box is our commissary bake shop.
Wow. Yeah. You're into everything. Well, congratulations on all your success and all the jobs you've created and all the, you've created extra places for people to go in Rome.
Yeah. I think it's all about, making memories with your families. And I think that, part of it was my desire for my girls to want to move back to Rome so that we have great places.
Well, if there's a bakery and a barbecue joint and a Italian place, we're all good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Hardy Realty Show here on Rome Business Radio. We broadcast from the Hardy Realty Studios on Broad Street in downtown Rome, and we work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune. Thank you so much for listening.